Hey, it's Ron McLean. Welcome to Hockey Talk on the Rock.
With Laura and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
All right, we are back. Hockey Talk on the Rock, episode 106. And we are into the season. The season has started. And I won't say it's gone amazingly for the Canucks. What do you think? How are they doing?
I mean, I think it has been a less than ideal start. They are 0-2. It could have been worse for sure, but it also could have been better in that they had leads in both games. Notably in the first game, they had the 3-goal lead twice, and they ended up giving it up and losing in overtime, despite some heroics in the last couple minutes to get it to overtime. And then the second game against Philadelphia, which I thought in general they played a lot better, but then they still gave up the lead and ended up losing in the shootout. I think it's very noticeable that Demko isn't there. And so now, they don't have that to rely on. I thought Lankinen played better than Shelov's. And obviously Myers getting hurt, although now it sounds like maybe it's not as bad as what it looked like, was also kind of a concern because their defense is definitely not super strong. So if you lose one of them, it's a bigger problem. But I mean, it's early. They're 2 games in. At least they've gotten points in both games. I think for sure giving up the leads is the most problematic part of their start. And I mean, the only thing I can say is they've started better than the Oilers. And, I don't think it's quite time to panic, but soon.
Yeah, I mean, you can look to last year with the Oilers and how their start went and how they ended up,
Yeah.
you have a good team, you can come around. And I mean, realistically, it's kind of to be expected because you knew they were going to change the structure of the game to try and be more offensive. So there's going to be growing pains when you sacrifice your structure that was your bread and butter, or at least not sacrifice it, but alter it in a way that you're going to be giving up more than what you did. It's going to take them dialed in. It's not going to just be immediate. But it was entertaining, and the JT Miller fight with Mantha was great. I thought for a smaller guy, he held his own, to say the least.
Yeah, it was good.
And kind of going back to the playoffs, yeah, Seelovs and the long shots, tracking the shots from the point through traffic.
Not great.
Yeah, it seems to be his kryptonite a little bit. But it's early. It's all early, and there's a lot of time to right the ship.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned yet. I know there's a lot of people that are already down on Patterson. I also think that that's too early. And if you look at 2 of the goals in the first game that the Canucks scored, the Besser one, and I can't remember who the other one was, but there's 2 goals that were directly because people were overcommitting to Patterson that created the room for the goal. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned about the Canucks yet. I think that they're gonna be competitive in this division. I mean, you look at Calgary starting 2-0 or whatever, and I really don't think they're not gonna be a playoff team. So sometimes at the beginning of the season, these things happen and they have to figure it out. And as you said, they are changing a lot of the structures. So and without doubt. So it's tied. Although supposedly he's going to be on the road trip coming up, which I don't know. Does it make you feel better or worse that he's going to travel with the team? Because if they go into Tampa and they play, because it's still not 100% after the whole hurricane thing, but say they go and they play and they get absolutely smoked by Tampa, it's 5-0 or 5-1 or something, Tampa. Do you think then that Demko feels a pressure to come back?
I think regardless, they can't do it. They can't rush him at all. Like, they need Demko in April. They don't need Demko in October.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I know the old saying, you can't make the playoffs in October, but you can sure miss the playoffs in October.
Sure.
It is a thing, but like we talked about the division in theory with San Jose, with Anaheim, with Calgary, um,
I mean,
yeah,
even LA, although they've started okay, but
yeah, they're right for the taking, right? Like it's almost like Vegas, Edmonton, and Vancouver should take the three playoff positions.
yeah. And then
Just
something maybe will happen with the bottom.
yeah, and a lot of people do have LA picked to make a wild card spot. I drafted Kemper in my one pool and I got mocked heavily for it. But I think throughout his career, you can see that he plays his best when he's in that defensive structure.
Sure.
He played his best hockey in Arizona and LA the first time around. And then he was a little more exposed with Colorado's run and gun, despite, they won a cup, but they were an
Yeah.
amazing team. And then in Washington, run and gun and a not great team, he really got exposed. But
Sure.
I thought, yeah, you can see him doing well in that 1-3-1 LA Kings system.
Yep.
So far, he's been good. Like he's not perfect and whatever, but he's not letting in a whole bunch of goals.
Yeah, I mean, I also drafted Kemper in one of my leagues, but it was mainly because there was literally no goalies left. And I left it too late, and I was like, okay, I think Kemper, of the available ones, at least he's gonna get starts. And maybe LA will be okay, who knows? So, and I've been pleasantly surprised so far, but we'll see.
Yep. And
Um,
then of course I'm wearing the Kings jersey because we are gonna be in LA, not next week, but the week after, and we're gonna go catch a Kings game,
all
check
right.
out Crypto Arena against the Sharks, and yeah, why not? When in Rome.
When in Rome, exactly. You might as well, you'll have to let me know. Have you been to other arenas before to
I
watch it?
have been only to Vancouver and Edmonton.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to let me know what the arena's like. I'm interested.
Hmm.
And then hopefully you guys have a good game. I mean, I don't personally I wouldn't have a preference on who to cheer for. Maybe I would cheer for San Jose because of their name. But, between
Yeah,
the two teams, I don't know who I care about winning, but
I hope we get to see Celebrini, and that's kind of really my only rooting interest.
yeah, I agree. It's nice. Anyway, it's cool.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know what you want to touch on from around the league because it's early, so there's nothing really to like bank on. I think like you know me, I'm a Claude Giroux fan, so I always want Ottawa to do well, and I think you're seeing early solid returns from Allmark.
Yep.
Um, you know, they needed they needed a good goalie.
Yeah, and it looks like it's working out so far. I thought like Ottawa and then obviously Utah so far have been like the two teams that have looked like they've improved the most. Um, I don't know how to say it, like they've exceeded expectations so far.
Yeah, Utah almost has like a Vegas in their first year feel.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I mean, to be like fair, they did have a very good, like they still, I mean, in Arizona, they had a very good young group of kids that were like just ready to break out when they moved. So now it's like quite an exciting team because you have this young core and like, yeah, you touched on earlier, like Gunther and Cooley and all those guys seem to be kind of hitting their stride now. So and then obviously they made some moves in the offseason, like with getting Sergachev and everything. But they're a much more interesting team just moving than they ever really were in Arizona, right?
Hmm.
But it's been interesting to watch. I mean, I don't think they'll keep up this pace, and I don't think that those young guys will also keep up the pace they're on. But it's nice to see so far. Um,
Yeah, no, it's been good. Montreal's been a bit surprising as well.
Yeah, Montreal, and then specifically, like you have Cole Caulfield, who scored 4 or 5 goals or something already now.
Hmm.
Which is also nice to see because obviously he was really connected to Johnny Gaudreau and he changed his number for him, and then he started off the season quite hot. So I think it's quite nice to see. Other than that, I don't have really a preference or feeling around Montreal, but
I think the only thing is like with the Four Nations tournament coming up and then the Olympics and who's going to be Canada's goalie, like Sam Montembeault could
Yeah.
be a could be a Team Canada member at this point. I don't know.
It's really sad to talk about the Team Canada goalie conversation when you consider in the past who we've had to play goal for Canada, and now it's like, yeah, like Skinner and Bennington and maybe Montembeault. I don't know.
Tristan
Anyway,
Jarry, Connor Ingram,
Tristan
like
Jarry maybe. I don't know who else you could
I
think
know
of.
we've been so lucky. Like growing up, it was always hard to pick three goalies because you'd have
Yeah,
like Broders, the Waz, the Balfours, the Cujos, then moving on to the Luongos and the Prices, and
yeah.
now all of a sudden there's just this big, massive, sad drop off.
Anyway, I mean, it's for sure the thing that going into those tournaments is going to be talked about the most. Because if you look at like the States or any of the major competitors, they all have legitimate goaltending. I mean, it feels like now the goalies are all Russian, like all the really good ones, which is also kind of funny because for a long time it was again one of Canada's strengths. But the States have Hellebuck and they have Demko and Quick and maybe not Quick, that's probably a bit old now, but they have options, yeah.
Jake Ottinger for sure.
Ottinger, yeah. I mean,
Um,
Sweden, I don't know if I can think of Swedish goalies right now. But yeah,
Markstrom.
Markstrom, yeah,
So on that note, the way too early Stanley Cup final prediction.
sure.
Who's in your gut? I had mine before the season started, so I'm trying not to let bias play into it.
Okay, I have a boring one, which I mean, I could see it happening. I don't know if I'd be super excited by it, which would be the Rangers in Dallas.
Okay.
But yeah.
So I had Edmonton going back to the final, and I I I keep wavering between the Rangers and Devils, and I think I want to pick the Devils.
I like the Devils, like I like the pick. But I just feel like everyone right now is picking the Devils. I don't know what to say, but I do think their team is very good and the improvements that they made, like they were already a good team, they just had a bad year and it was because they didn't have any goaltending, right? And then they also had a ton of injuries. But I mean, the changes that they made to their D are all very good, and Markstrom is an insane improvement over what they had in net the last year. But
They
I
even
just
have,
don't know. I think maybe it's too early for the Devils. That's my gut feeling.
yeah, I don't know. Jake Allen is the backup too.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
and
have a
portfolio.
good team. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I could see either. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with Devils just to be different, but like when I saw whatever it was, Sportsnet's insiders all pick their cup winners this year, and it was like
All
90%
Edmonton.
of them had Edmonton, and then there was like a Florida and a Dallas, and
Yeah.
it was like I like the New Jersey pick, but I was really surprised no one picked the Rangers.
Yeah. I mean, you can look kind of at a pattern. This is me because I like data. Um, like Florida, they won the President's Cup trophy, and then the following year they made it to the finals. And I just feel like the Rangers last year won the President's trophy, and I just have a weird feeling this year they're gonna make it to the finals. I don't know if they win, but I think they make it. No.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to like this is their year because they're gonna pay Shesterkin $80 million for a
Yeah,
season.
and also like Lafreniere needs a contract. Like Miller, like Keandre Miller needs a contract. They're gonna be so like they're gonna have to move players. So it's
Yeah.
kind of their last dance with this.
Well, and Chuba's out the door after this one too because of
Yeah,
the money.
yeah,
So yeah, I can see they're gonna be the biggest player at the deadline this year.
I think so too. They have the most to lose, so maybe actually it's a stupid pick, but I'll stick with it anyway.
And Dallas, hey? You feel like Dallas?
I don't know. I just don't like anyone really in the West, to be honest with you. Um, Colorado, and this is my thought before the season started, I think they've gotten a lot weaker. Besides, again, obviously their three big players and Makar, Rantanen, and McKinnon. I think around them they don't have any depth. I guess Casey Middlestad's okay, but like that's kind of the level. So I can't see them making another run this year. Edmonton, yes, their offense got better, but I think their defense is awful and I don't trust Skinner. So for me, I think they made it last year. I don't think they make it again. And then like maybe you could pick Vegas, but I also don't think their depth is that good anymore. So I'm trying to think of teams. Dallas, I don't love. I think they're okay, but I just think they're more of a complete team than the other teams.
Yeah, that's fair. The
Anyway,
West like last year feels weaker for sure.
yeah,
You know, Ontario watching the playoffs last year, and we were watching. I think it was when Edmonton was playing Dallas and Florida was playing the
the
Rangers.
Rangers, yeah, I think.
And I was talking with my uncle, and I just said it feels like whoever wins the Edmonton Dallas series is going to the final to lose to whoever wins the Florida
Sure.
Rangers series.
Yeah,
I feel like it mattered who won in the East that they were going to win the cup.
sure.
And of course, it got dramatic and it was close, but Florida was the better team ultimately, and it felt like if the Rangers were there, they would have won it too.
Yeah, I agree with you. Anyway,
So you didn't want to pick the Leafs?
no, never pick the Leafs.
Well, they've been okay so far. Their
They
top
have
line has,
been okay so far. And they, maybe they end up being better than they were last year. Who knows?
who knows?
We'll
Anyway,
see.
got
And
any
then
more?
what about the Jeremy Swayman contract?
Oh yeah, I feel like if that was the 66 million was the number and they were willing to go to 64 and make a missed training camp and all that stuff, like
Yeah,
just pay the guy. Like, I don't know. It's 2 million bucks over 8 years.
yeah. No, I know. I mean, Boston's one of those teams, right, that like they've always had this super strong internal cap and players take less to stay there, and that was the mentality for a long time. And I feel like they're still a bit kind of hurt that it's not that way anymore. So they don't like the players asking for more because of that. But on the other side, I also like I feel like Swayman's overpaid. I don't know. To
We'll
me.
see. Time
We'll
will
see.
tell, but they did it to themselves, you
Yeah.
know. Get Swayman's contract done, then you trade Allmark. And
Yeah,
then
exactly. Not the other way.
by doing it backwards, they gave like why wouldn't Swayman do what he did?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean he did have a very good season, but it was just one season, right? So it's
And what is it? He's never started more than 43 games in a season.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And Corpusalo showed on opening night that he's still
Not an
Corpusalo.
option, yeah. So anyway, it will be interesting to watch as the season goes on. But yeah, it's done. There's no more held out RFAs for the year. They
Right.
all signed, so those stories are done. And yeah, now we just watch hockey.
Okay, well, the last one is the same conversation we had last year, and it's a quick one.
Okay.
Of the teams who need to make the playoffs, Detroit, Ottawa, and Buffalo,
Yep.
do you see any of them making it?
I mean, for me, of those three, I think Ottawa has a chance, but I don't see Buffalo making it. It's not just because of their start. I just don't see it. Detroit, I don't know. I'll just say Ottawa. I think Ottawa will do it.
I can see none of them making it, but I feel like this is the year Ottawa does make it.
Yeah, it just feels like the right time.
I don't think Detroit and Buffalo did enough to be better.
No. And I mean, the teams in the East, right, like that they're competing with, they're all still pretty good. That's the problem. So, sure, I think I could take Ottawa over Washington and the Islanders, but outside of those two teams, like it's all pretty good. Like they're all good teams. I don't know. But every year, right, people, it's like everyone predicts basically the same playoff teams as the year before, and every year there's like a crazy team that misses or one that makes it. So who knows? But I'll say Ottawa. Say one of the three.
All right. I like it. You got anything else?
I think that's it for this opening week. We'll see how it goes next week.
Look ahead to the next week or two and see how it goes. And hopefully, next time we do this, the Canucks have a couple W's.
Yes, hopefully. No
Hopefully.
jerseys on the ice.
Too early for that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been Hockey Talk on the Rock, episode 106, and we will do it again sometime.
Perfect.